Hello and welcome to Let's Conversate. I'm your host, Dean Misdale, but some of you probably know me as my drag alter ego Feminem. I'm sorry about that. She's a real bitch. Now, I know some of you are probably asking, what the hell is Let's Conversate? So if you're new here, let me tell you, Let's Conversate is my brand new podcast where each episode I will have a different special guest sit down with me and you guessed it, we're gonna conversate. They might be someone I know from the industry, someone I have worked with, or someone I've known for a very long time, or even someone I just find really damn interesting. Welcome to episode 2. Our next guest is none other than Fringe royalty, Matt Tarrant.
Hey mate, how you doing?
Look, I have to say, when I think of Fringe, the first thing I think of is Matt Tarrant.
That's a scary thing, I think, and I think they're called royalty. You're talking me up a little bit too much.
No.
Yeah, maybe.
Well,
I don't know.
all right. Well, go ahead then. Tell people who you are and what you do.
Oh Lord. So my name is Matt Tarrant, magician, mentalist, and I've been doing Fringe festivals since probably 2010 now. So that makes me feel really old. And been really fortunate on the way to win a bunch of awards while doing them, and doing I guess reasonably well.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a minute. But usually my first question I ask my guests is, how did we meet? Do you remember how we met the first time?
Now, I'm going to assume it's based off of how I meet most artists, and it's because during festivals quite often I will say, hey, if anyone wants any help, let's get a coffee.
Yes!
And I think that's what we might have done.
Yeah.
And I don't do that as much anymore because I realised there was one Fringe, and I think it might have been that Fringe that we met.
Yeah, sure.
I did something like 48
Oh my God.
hour-long coffee chats with all these artists, and then I was wrecked. That was in like a week and a half as well.
So for those of you listening, what Matt did, how we first met, there's a big Facebook group which a lot of the Fringe artists are in, and Matt had posted in there saying, hey, I'm Matt, I'm from Adelaide, I've done Fringe for a long, long time, you know, if you want to come pick my brain about marketing or selling tickets, like not blowing my own horn, just literally here to help people. And I was like, hell yeah. So yeah, we went and had a coffee, and then since then we've kind of worked together in a roundabout way with the Uber thing we did last year. And then we both performed at the Bushfire Fringe fundraiser a couple of weeks ago. So we keep having these weird like crossover moments.
It's Fringe. There's always crossovers. There's always all these things.
This is why I love Fringe, because you get to interact with so many people from different parts of the entertainment industry that they're here for a month, and you get to have fun and see them. And
those chats for me were just as much about getting that from me as well. Like,
Yeah,
you know,
sure.
to get that connection and to chat to people and to sort of get to know people. And like ever since then, all those artists that we've caught up with, you know, I now consider almost all of them friends. You know, and we're able to catch up. They send me stuff when they need. I send them stuff when I need. And,
of course.
It's been nice because, as you know, doing these festivals, especially when you're interstate, can be quite a lonely, sad, depressing, anxious, everything.
We had Karen from finance here last week, and she said the same thing. She's touring solo, and she's like, after day 2, I was like, oh, I'm lonely.
Yep.
So yeah, traveling when you're a performer and traveling alone can be.
This is my first time touring without one of my actual, like, not full-time hired, but one of my normal stage managers / support. So normally I have like Bo, who's a great magician who now lives overseas.
Yeah, I think he was with you the last time I saw your show.
A guy called Kaim, who's from Adelaide, and we're like actually not only just work together, but we're close friends as well. And they're not here this year. So
I think having a really close team is important. I'm the same. I have my friend Leah, who works backstage on all my shows. She does all my super quick costume changes, and she's so important to the show. Totally. And you know, it's quite an intimate relationship we have together.
It is, but it's tough for them as well though, because
they work just as hard as the people on stage.
Yeah, but also for me, I mean, I've always tried to make sure those guys are like super highly paid.
Yeah.
But the issue is, I mean, for me, this is my job, and this is like a 12-month thing, and I can get enough to survive for 12 months. They can't off of what I do.
Yeah,
you know.
course.
So it's this level of, despite the fact that I'm rather successful and doing okay.
He's using inverted commas.
It's only for like a few months of the year.
Yeah.
So for the rest of it,
people
tough.
just. I'm performing pretty much every night for the month, whether it be in my own shows or guest spots or whatever, and you have to capitalize on that bubble because I am very fortunate here in Perth that I work 5 nights a week, most weeks doing drag or singing or DJing or one of my many things, and but Fringe is a whole other beast.
Oh, it's crazy.
Yeah,
isn't it?
I did find out something very interesting about you the other day from another interview that you did. And apparently, please confirm, you are the highest selling act in Adelaide Fringe history.
Yeah.
That is insane.
Yeah, I think that's the case for... I don't know if it's official across all acts, but definitely as a solo artist, I would be like easily number one.
Wow.
So the last 3 years we've sold like pretty much in excess or around 10,000 tickets every month.
Oh my God.
Like
For the month of Fringe.
For the month of Fringe.
Wow.
So
and do you pull similar numbers here in Perth?
So no, because Perth I've only been doing for 3 or 4 years now.
Right.
So Adelaide it's been a little bit longer.
Yeah.
And because it's my home base, I guess, and the Adelaide Fringe, I guess in a way, it is a bigger festival.
Yeah. So it's been running for 60 years, is it now?
Yeah. So they have bigger venues. People are a bit more aware of what the Fringe is. So there's probably a bigger pool of audience members.
Yeah.
So I think to get 10,000 people coming to your show here, my guess is no one does it.
Yeah.
I can't, even the bigger shows, I would guess they probably don't get that amount.
Yep.
Whereas in Adelaide, there are probably somewhere between 10 to 20 acts that get in excess of 6,000 tickets,
crazy.
which probably wouldn't happen here.
I'm actually heading over to Adelaide Fringe for the first time in a couple of weeks.
Poor thing.
No, I'm just coming over for a couple of days, doing a couple of guest spots, kind of checking it out because I've always wanted to come.
Oh, you lucky thing. That sounds much nicer.
And every year it clashes with something I'm already booked in with here. So my aim is to next year I must come and do it, even if it's for a week, 2 weeks, maybe not the whole festival, but
it's such a great festival.
Yeah,
and
I've heard nothing but good things.
I'm biased because I am
from Adelaide.
But it is, for me, if I didn't have that Adelaide Fringe Festival, there is not a chance I'd be able to do what I'm doing right now. And not a chance I would have been able to do this career, which is just crazy. For me, I can go there once a year and know for that month I'm going to sell a reasonable amount of tickets, and that can pretty much set up the rest of my year.
That's so
good.
good.
I mean, if I sell
so
10,000
good.
tickets at a festival in Adelaide,
Yeah.
at let's say somewhere between $25 to $30 a pop, obviously I'm paying a lot of things to sell that amount of tickets, so marketing and this sort of stuff.
Lee and I were just talking about this before we went to air about some of the shows in Perth. I often wonder how much money do they spend to make the money they're making.
Adelaide Fringe, I spend somewhere in excess of $50,000 to $60,000 on marketing and promotion. Now, that is a huge figure.
That's mind-blowing.
And I will also, every time I say that figure, I go, people must go, oh, this guy's so rich. I currently have like $18 in my bank account.
Yeah.
I am the poorest person you could ever imagine.
Yeah.
I couldn't do that if I didn't have a great producer who has money in Adelaide. And
Gotcha.
we sell somewhere, I don't know, $200,000 worth of tickets, let's say, in Adelaide, but we spend $60,000 to make that. And then I also have to then spend
costs.
somewhere between 30 to 40% to the venue itself.
The
I
venue
have to pay
costs are
staff.
phenomenal.
I have to build a show.
Yeah.
So I might walk away with, let's say it's 60 grand as an example, which is roughly about it.
Well,
that's
a nice...
That's a huge figure.
Yeah, and that's like a nice kind of minimum to general. What's minimum wage? 30, 40 grand?
Yeah.
So you're doing well if you make 60 grand.
In a month. But it's not a month. For me to do the Adelaide Fringe,
planning.
It's 6 months, and I invest tens of thousands of dollars in tricks, in things, and quite often I will walk away and go, look at all that income I had this year, and look at all that outgoing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why don't I just go down the street and get a job at Macca's? Because sometimes it would be so much easier, and I would make probably just as much. And this is for someone, I've had this discussion a few times as Fringe, is that I'm so lucky and grateful that I do well.
Yeah.
I don't know how artists that aren't selling a huge number of tickets are doing it.
Well, I mean, I'm very lucky here in Perth too. Like, I sell out shows every year and we always make money, but it's nowhere near what people think it is. Or it's, it might be a couple of grand here or a couple of grand there. So it might give me some money to like allow me to produce the next show or something, but I'm certainly not walking away with enough to like live off for the rest of the year or anything.
Yeah, and it's an ongoing battle because there's going to be a point in my life where I'm going to then be the old magician that's old news no one cares about anymore. And
Try doing that in drag.
And I would have spent 60 grand though to sell tickets, and people are like, oh, we don't care about him anymore. And they won't come. And then I will be bankrupt.
Well,
that is how it's going to happen.
How did you get into magic? You kind of tell this story in the show a little bit.
Yeah, a little.
Yeah.
So I and the story I tell in the show is genuine. So I saw a magician by the name of Rudy Kobe when I was a kid, and that kind of sparked my interest in magic. And then I didn't get into it because I just assumed, I guess, he was a wizard, and I couldn't actually learn the skill that he'd learned. Then by the time I was maybe 18, 19. I was working at a bank, and I went out to the Adelaide Fringe again, and I saw this guy. His name was Prakash, who was a street magician, and really cool. Enjoyed his stuff, but probably didn't get the exact feeling I felt when I was a kid, like
Sure.
that wonder. And I kind of went, oh, I wonder it'd be cool to learn some of those tricks for like parties and all that sort of stuff. I wasn't a social kid. I didn't have a lot of friends and that sort of thing. So for me, that was kind of a good excuse to talk to people and get, be a bit of a face at the party sometimes. And it kind of went from there. Prakash, by sheer coincidence, worked at the same bank that I worked at in the same office. I had no idea.
So you had access to him.
He taught me how to learn magic, which was the most important thing.
Well, that was kind of my next question. It's like, when you do you create the tricks or the illusions yourself, or are they like tried and true that is like industry tricks that everybody does, or like
both?
Bit of both.
So
because
yes.
I know nothing about magic. So when I come and see your show, I'm like, did he create that trick from scratch, or is that something that he's learned, or like?
It's funny with magic. Magic's a weird art because people do share secrets, and that sounds really weird because magicians aren't renowned for sharing secrets. But between magicians will share how tricks work, and they will sell tricks.
Okay.
And so, like the guys I mentioned before, Bo and Kaim, they are magicians, but they don't perform. They just create and share magic, and they will sell DVDs.
Just like a ghostwriter.
Exactly right.
Yeah, cool.
And I'll come to them sometimes with ideas and say, "Hey, I want to kind of do this. Can let's brainstorm and see how that could work." And that's kind of how that sort of happens. And that's what, I guess, Prakash opened my eyes up a little bit to learn how that is a thing.
Yeah.
And learn that I can learn that sort of stuff. And, I was really fortunate that when I joined all these online internet forums, because I'm a bit of a geek, I started having conversations with magicians who, at the time, weren't renowned or weren't known. But now, all of these guys that we formed a friendship with, they are all in their countries really successful and doing really well.
Yeah.
And we've been able to kind of follow each other's journeys and it's been really exciting. And one of the girls that I actually was speaking to on this forum, she was a dancer. She worked in a Vegas show.
Mm-hmm.
And we just got chatting, and her name was Katie Eggleston. And then she ended up dating and marrying a guy called Chris Kenner. And Chris just happens to be David Copperfield's executive producer. So by sheer coincidence, this girl that we just set up a nice friendship married one of the greatest. Not only is he a great magician in his own right, but the executive producer of the greatest magician of all time. Yeah. And I got to meet Chris a few times. I've now met David a couple of times. Chris and Katie sent me a few things.
Oh, that's awesome.
It was just that. Not only did they help me, but they also kind of inspired me to go, wow. I mean, if a young kid from Adelaide, 19 years of age, that knows one or two party tricks, can get this opportunity, I mean, let's just go for it.
It's interesting because I've definitely had this similar experiences where, just by sheer chance, I've met certain people who have, either inspired me or given me an opportunity that has become something absolutely monumental in my career. So I think it's always just so fascinating how life has this little way of sometimes navigating you exactly where you need to go and who you need to be around.
There's a lot of luck involved in any of this sort of thing. And anyone that says there's not is lying. I'm very lucky that I got to meet the people that I have, and that has, I mean, it has to come from hard work as well.
Oh, absolutely.
The hard work, just fluke it. No, but the hard work can be inspired a bit by luck.
Yes, 100%.
So if something goes well, if you get an opportunity or an idea comes to mind, or you meet someone, that can definitely help to inspire that hard work to get there.
Magic is your full-time career.
Yeah, it is.
So what sort of magic are you doing when it's not Fringe season? Because Perth and Adelaide Fringe back-to-back, so that takes up the first couple of months of the year.
Yeah.
And then sort of what do you do for the other, apart from creating new material or stuff, do you run shows throughout the year? Do you work?
I do a bunch of corporate stuff. So corporate work is probably one of the I guess, biggest things for me in regards to income-wise.
Yeah, I do the same here in Perth. Tons of corporate work.
It's probably not maybe the most glamorous or nice work sometimes, but
well, I mean, for a magician, what sort of show would you do at a corporate event?
Usually somewhere between like 15 to 20 minutes up on stage.
Yeah, same thing for a drag show. Yeah,
which is literally just get on stage, do 3 or 4 tricks, and then go back to my hotel room being lonely again.
See, that's why I love corporates though, because you're in and out.
Yeah, and you can charge. I mean, I won't say a fee, but you can charge a fairly high number.
Yeah, they've usually got money to spend on entertainment, which is nice.
Yeah, it is. It's nice to know that you've got a guaranteed guaranteed fee coming in.
Yes. You're not worried about ticket sales.
I guess the worry is you do a show, though, and you do feel probably a little bit... you don't get the same response as you probably do when you're doing a show that people are coming to see.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean...
Sometimes you do.
Sometimes you do, definitely, because with the drag stuff, a lot of the stuff we do at corporate is the very stereotypical Priscilla, disco, and it's usually a great party starter. A lot of people are not expecting to see a drag show at a corporate event.
Yes.
So they react in a way where, oh my God, we never see drag. This is amazing. Da, da, da. So I find corporate gigs for us are actually a lot of fun.
They are. I'm not saying they're not.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. But I think there are some shows you do and you're like, oh, they loved it. But, I mean... they weren't loving it as much as an audience to come to see my show.
I was just talking about this with some friends last night. People who book drag queens for private parties, like a hen's party or a 50th birthday party, and the person who has booked you loves it, and then no one else at the party does. And it becomes very awkward very fast.
Yeah. We've all had gigs like that. And, you know, there are sometimes you get gigs in... I mean, I'm so experienced now in doing corporate that I'm pretty aware of what works and what doesn't work.
Yeah.
And quite often I'll give that feedback
tested.
and say, hey, guys, maybe do this instead. And they'll be like, oh, no, like we think it's going to work this way.
Yeah.
And I just go, it's not going to work. Like I did a show a couple of months ago in Darwin, and it was for a big insurance corporate event with all these people that flew into state for a 4-day conference. And they were so lovely. So like the lady that booked me, they'd been wanting to get me for a couple of years, and it was they looked after me so well. But they put me on the last night of this conference at 9:30 p.m.
Everyone's exhausted.
Not exhausted. Everyone was
drunk.
absolutely hammered. And then 5 minutes before I went up on stage, they announced over the mic, hey guys, to let you know, the cocktail bar is now open with free espresso martinis.
So no one's paying attention.
No one gave a stuff about this magician. So I'm up on stage performing on this giant stage, but it had a full band kit, so I had probably like a metre square.
I know that feeling all too well.
And I said, guys, it's going to be tough. And it was. And
shoot.
I went off stage and I just looked at the organiser, the MC, who's a friend of mine, and Stephen Bradbury, as in the Olympian, was there.
Oh,
and
cool.
he'd spoken earlier that day. And we just all looked at each other and I went, well, that was hard.
That just happened. Let's move on.
That was something. And let's just not ever mention that ever again. But look, it's funny because everyone that watched and everyone was there had a good time. It's just there was a lot of people that just would prefer to get drunk.
They were more interested in the alcohol.
And that's fine.
How long have you been doing magic professionally for? You said you started when you were about 19.
Yeah, I started practicing magic when I was 19, but I quit my job, I think it was around 26, 27. So that's about 5 or 6 years now.
So you were running fringe shows while you still had a day job?
Yeah, I did, yeah. So, and even now to this day, I still do other stuff on the side.
Gotcha.
Because, I mean, for me, I can do magic as a full-time thing and it would support me financially. But I don't think it would probably keep me stimulated enough for
That's one of the things I'm very lucky with. Because I'm a bit of a jack of all trades, every night of the week I'm doing something different.
Me too, yeah.
And it keeps me so energized and just, into what I'm doing.
Absolutely.
It doesn't become Groundhog Day.
When I left my job at the bank, I spent the first 2 months basically doing nothing. Yeah. And I went, oh, this is boring.
Yeah,
my brain is not stimulated. So
I'm such a workaholic.
I realised that I was really good at social media and marketing, and I ended up getting a job with a TV show doing their social media 1 day a week.
Oh, cool.
And it was just something that made me go, at least I know I have a routine. Once a week I go and do this thing. I get some guaranteed money. And
which always helps.
Seriously, so many people, when you're a performer, go, oh, you have to work a job still? And I'm like, no, that's great. If you're out there still working a second job and performing, that I mad respect to you, because that is not hard. Well, sorry, that is not easy.
Yeah.
And it's mad respect, because sometimes it just keeps you sane and you do need income. It's not a bad thing.
When I first started doing drag, I was working, just a shitty office job, and I'd be out performing at nightclubs in 2 a.m, back up at work 6, 7 a.m. the next day, just killing myself. But I loved every minute of it. Like I never regretted doing it. And I think it gave me such a strong work ethic now that I am self-employed, that I know how I have to hustle to really make sure that everything's where it needs to be.
It teaches you just a bunch of good business practices as well. So for me, that's definitely something that I've learned. I think going into the fact that I had to have meetings with like the CEO of Westpac I was in, meetings with, and all these things. And it was like that for me just taught me how to communicate better, just how to be a better business person. And those things have helped
for sure
for a variety of different things.
I absolutely think a huge part of my success is that I have just been able to, like you said, navigate those conversations, because sometimes I get booked direct and it can be a really important client. sometimes it can be a booking agent, and you've got to know how to handle different types of people. And sometimes you can have fun with them, sometimes you've got to be super professional, and yeah, really got to toe the line.
Totally.
You were also on Survivor.
Mm-hmm.
When was that?
2016.
You were on reality TV. I've had my share of experiences with reality TV. Please tell me about yours. How did you come to be on the show? You auditioned?
I just applied, yeah. There was a lot of people on my cast that were recruited. I didn't.
Yeah.
I just applied like everyone else. So 15,000 people sent through my video, and I was pretty aware straight away, even before I'd submitted the video, there was a pretty good chance I'd get on.
And why is that?
I think I just know how to navigate a good story and know how to sell myself as a character, which is what you have to do if you ever want to get on reality TV. You can't just be, I'm really good and my friends and family love me. That's not going to cut it. So for me, I went on and said, you know what? I need to be me. I need to be a magician. I need to be a mind reader, but I need to turn that up a notch, like 110% of that.
Yeah.
So I went on and saying, I'm going to be able to read minds, read body language, know what they're thinking when they're thinking, and be able to manipulate that. Now, I knew every time I said that it was utter rubbish.
Yeah.
And I can't.
But the camera loves it, and the producers love it.
And, you know,
they love sound bites.
Absolutely. And so for me to be able to explain, I can see when they're blinking at me or when they're like smiling, and I know that's in lying. Utter rubbish. Like, none of it was true. But it helped me to get on, you know?
Yeah.
And there was a card trick that I did, and that basically got me on the show. It was in the audition. And it is, in simplistic terms, one of the easiest card tricks you could possibly do. But I turned it into what should be a 3-second reveal into a 3-minute amazing, like, body language expert. And they were mind blown. And
that definitely comes across in your show too. Your show is not just magic.
No,
you're definitely a performer.
Totally. You have to be.
Yeah.
You know, like, tricks are great, but tricks with a bit of something behind it, so much better. And that's what it was. And I remember one of the producers called me out and said, Matt, I think this is how you did it. And he was 100% spot on. And I had to look him in the eyes and say, mate, you are so far off, it's not funny. And he just went, well, you're amazing. And they supposedly watched that trick back, they said like 20 times in slow motion, trying to work it out, and they couldn't work it out. And I'm sure that was definitely an element of why I got on, but more so the story around that.
Yeah.
And, you know, for me, Survivor was a while back now, but it was a really, really cool experience. It was something that I wanted to do since I was a kid. I'm a huge fan of the show. That's why I applied. I didn't do it for any other reasons. It's funny, one of the producers, this same guy, actually said to me, Matt, are you doing this like for your career? And I'm like, mate, I'm going to be honest, first of all, I haven't even considered that. And second of all, I actually think you have a bigger possibility of ruining my career than this could make it.
Let me tell you that I had a really rough experience on reality TV a year or two ago with a show called All Together Now.
Yes.
Where you get up and sing in front of 100 people.
Yeah, that show went well, didn't it? Is it still around?
No, one season wonder.
What a surprise.
I was really, really sick. So I did the audition. I kind of got headhunted. You know, there was a lovely email being circulated around to a bunch of singers and drag queens, and I sent off an email, and of course they called me instantly. I was on one episode of the show but flew back and forth to the East Coast 4 times and got sick in the process, and they didn't care. They're just pushing me out on stage knowing that I'm sick, that I'm not going to be able to sing. And after we filmed it, I was like, this could damage my career more than I thought.
My wife, that was the one thing she was scared about me doing.
Yeah.
She said, Matt, what if you come back and you are painted as the arsehole?
Yeah.
And no one's ever going to come to see your show. No one's ever going to book you for a corporate gig. And I went to this audition, and the first one's a group audition. And there was another guy in this audition called Nick. And I just instantly looked at Nick and went, this guy's an absolute tosser. And in the whole application, he was. Like, in his interview, he was the snake. He was the bad guy. And I wasn't necessarily the good guy, but me and Nick, we just went head to head against each other. And I'm like, I don't like this guy. This guy, like, didn't like me. And we just went against each other. And we ended up both getting on the show.
But they love that, exactly. They would have seen that, and it's like ratings gold.
I went home and said, Kira, don't worry. I am not the dick. I found him. He's the guy called Nick. He's an arsehole. And Nick ended up, it was the funniest thing, because I'd kept this whole kind of magician thing secret in my application process in front of other contestants. I didn't want them to know.
So the producers knew, but no one else.
Yes.
Gotcha.
But Nick had to find this out because in this he saw some of the stuff. So I was like, I just hope he's not on because I don't want him to reveal it. Day one, we're out there, And literally I look across on this truck, and this second truck next to us with the other contestants. I look, and there's Nick. Big smile on his face, big thumbs up. And I'm like,
shit.
well, there goes that. I'm just revealing everything now and having to pretend I'm just who I am.
Is it real? Because we know a lot of reality TV is scripted or seriously very heavily produced. Are you guys out there in the middle of nowhere fending for yourselves? Like, how real is that element of it?
Well, middle of nowhere is probably an exaggeration. You are on a beach in Samoa, but you have zero connection to the outside world.
Gotcha.
You very much are living the life as it looks.
Yep.
There are probably some things in the show which maybe it looks like you're doing one thing, but it's not necessarily the case. So things like walking to and from challenges you're not actually walking.
Yeah.
But what you actually do is probably a million times worse, because you're pretty much treated like you're in the army. You're blindfolded in a blacked out van, traveling for hours to get to these places.
Oh my God, no way.
Food, no water, no conversation.
Oh,
so
shit.
Every single contestant that I'm aware
They put you through it.
has come back with mental health or anxiety, depressive issues. I went through a lot of it. My family went through a lot of it because of it as well. It is exactly as real as you'd imagine, but it's worse.
Wow.
So yeah, it's a tough thing. And these guys, I mean, it's very much a game and a show, but it does take over a lot of your life. And for me, it probably took over 12 months of my life, maybe even a bit longer. And that was probably 12 months longer than what my wife wanted it to take over.
Yeah.
So,
did it have a trickle-on effect to your career? Like, were people booking you to do magic because they'd seen you on the show? Or
I mean, maybe. That's been a measure we haven't really ever been able to actually quantify, because my career was kind of already on the rise, on the up. So there has to be that element to it. But I'm sure maybe there are some people that have booked me because they saw me on Survivor and liked Survivor.
Yeah.
But
I find reality TV is quite fleeting these days. There's so much of it.
So much
the
going
lifespan of the celebrity that people get after being off the show is so short-lived.
And is anyone, I mean, maybe they are, but is anyone really spending several thousands of dollars on a magician because they saw them on an island? I don't know if they are.
I don't know.
Maybe they are.
Just
I don't
after
know.
my experience with Adele, I can definitely tell you that I made a lot of money thanks to that fleeting moment.
Yeah, I mean, definitely, I'm sure it hasn't hurt.
No.
But I also don't know if it necessarily helped either. But I think if you're going on one of those shows, or if you're going on really any sort of opportunity expecting it, it's not going to happen. You need to make it happen if you want it to happen. There were plenty of people on my season that weren't performers but wanted to get something out of it.
Gotcha.
And they hadn't prepared themselves to actually gain and achieve that, so it never happened.
Well, that's the thing. You've got to come off the show and in some cases you can be an instant celebrity, and if you don't have anything in place to deal with that, I can't imagine how it would, the average person would deal with that.
Gone are the days of going on a reality TV show and coming back with a radio contract.
Yeah.
It's not the case anymore. Unless you have experience in that, or unless you have been doing training and you're prepared for it, it ain't going to happen.
Ain't going to happen. Just back to some more fringe stuff. There was an incident here in Perth a couple of years ago where an independent producer basically screwed an insane amount of money took artists' money and never paid them. And I know that you were very vocal about it at the time because it affected you hugely. Did that ever get resolved in any kind of way that would make people feel okay?
Not really.
We've chosen not to mention names, so sorry if we're beating around the bush, but it was...
I'm sure you can just Google my name.
Yeah, you'll find it.
And look, it's one of these things. It happened a few years ago now. It was a monstrous amount of money in a time of my life that I really didn't need that to happen.
It was just before your wedding, right?
It was just before my wedding. I lost a lot of money, a lot of time. It was really tough.
Heartbreaking.
But, I mean... look, I change my opinion on it every single day. I still don't, like, my wife still, the poor thing has to put up with my swing and roundabout changes every time. Because I actually caught up with the guys the other night for a beer.
Yeah.
I didn't pay. They paid the beer. But, I don't know why I did that, but I just kind of felt like, you know what? Like, I want to be a better person, and I want to be happier with a lot of things. And for me, I can sulk and moan and cry about this for the rest of my life, but that is not going to change a single thing. And though I don't obviously approve that they did it, and I'm not happy with them they did it, and I'm severely upset and angry, and I will be forever with it, I also don't want to live my life with that constantly in my head.
Well, you sound like you're a better person than I am, because...
But, like, no, you'd be absolutely welcome. Like, everyone deals with these things in different ways.
Oh, for sure.
And
you are right. You do have to let things go to a certain extent, because it'll torture you forever.
It was a huge amount of money, but I had to go, okay, well, look, I'm not going to get that money. So how do I spend the next 12 months making sure that I don't lose more money and I get that money back?
Yeah.
So I went out and got a second job.
Wow.
I went out and worked another job. I'd started doing more social media for a company, and I made sure that it was $38,000 or something like that. I made sure I earned that back again.
Wow.
And it sucked doing it. I didn't like working a second job. But I don't know.
Do you know how many artists or shows were affected by this?
I think there were 3 shows that were impacted with a huge dollar figure.
Yeah.
Like in excess of probably $35,000 each.
Wow.
One was $70,000. So they were the 3 big ones, but I think overall there were probably somewhere in the range of maybe 10 to 20 artists impacted in some way, and a bunch of other contractors as well. So it wasn't just artists.
I remember there being contractors and all kinds of people involved in the whole situation.
Lots of stuff going on, but I remember. I mean, I was probably. Me and one of the other artists who were impacted the most, we'd been speaking prior to the announcement that they were going through this situation, and I was very aware that it looked like it was going to turn nasty bad, and there was a lot of red flags for me. They didn't think there were as many, and I was like, I think, guys, we have to be careful.
Sounds like you're a better businessman than they were.
Well, no, they're very good business people, but I think they just had a lot more trust and faith in society and people. And I just hate people. So, so for me,
that is music to my ears.
You know, I was just unsure. So I'd already spoken to my cousin, who's also a very high up lawyer, and sort of said, look, can we just prepare just in case something were to happen?
Yeah.
I had written a media release just in case something had happened. And I was just ready to go if something were to happen. Because I went, if this is the situation I think it is, I'm not getting any money.
Yeah.
And I need to make sure I get something out of this.
Yeah.
So for me, it was, I need to make sure this story is told.
Yeah.
I need to make sure that my story is told. I need to make sure I try to get as much good press out of it as I possibly can.
Yes.
And I make sure that they are, as much way as possible, stopped from being able to do this to anyone else by making sure that it's out there. So there's a lot of rumours that go around about these guys and what they're up to now. A lot of those rumours are completely untrue. They aren't living on an island somewhere with millions of dollars. This is not a sad story for them in that, they were poor things, but they are struggling just as much as we are, if not more. It's their doing that that's the case. So that's not me, giving them an excuse or making them, whatever. But I think it was a really awful scenario for a lot of people. No one won out of it, and it's probably going to hurt people for a fair bit to go. But for me, I just had to go, you know what, let's just move on with life and just try to be as happy as I can be.
Well, good for you. I say you've kind of made the best of a bad situation.
Doing with best to be positive.
I want to talk about mishaps on stage. Because in the drag world, I've had a few. I've broken bones on stage, and we had what I like to call a shit show on Monday night where, everything that could go wrong did go wrong all in the space of an hour. Being that you do magic and some of the tricks that you do involve an element of danger, have there been any serious mishaps that you've had to deal with live on stage?
Yeah, probably most nights. Seriously, I would say almost every show something goes wrong.
Wow.
To some sort of extent. Maybe not a severe issue all the time, but definitely.
Well, I saw you a couple of days ago and you had a fish hook in your mouth on stage.
Yeah, that's gone wrong twice. So that's good. No, look, we've definitely had some scenarios where things have gone wrong, but for me, as a performer, having those scenarios makes you a much better performer.
Sure.
When that first would have happened to me, if I got a trick wrong on stage, back in the day, it would have been the end of the show. The show would have been a disaster. Whereas a month and a half ago, I did a show in Brisbane, and it was, I will happily say, the worst show I've done for a number of years. Out of the 8 tricks in the show, only 4 worked.
Oh, no.
And I'm not just saying that was a little bit crap. No, it just didn't work. There was no trick. It was me on stage for 8 minutes to reveal something that didn't work.
Wow.
Which isn't great.
No.
And it just, to the point where literally the finale of the show, which is a video, the projector just didn't work. So I had to say, okay, well...
Is it the same video that you're running in the Fringe show?
Slightly different.
Because that blew my mind.
Oh, it's amazing. But
so good.
When it doesn't work, it's not great.
Yeah.
So the projector just stopped working. And I'm up on stage after having this disaster of a show, at least knowing in my head, okay, the video is going to clean everything up and that'll be fun. Be nice. And I'm like, okay, guys, can we play the video? And then I just hear nothing and I'm like, okay. And then I hear this voice from backstage. We're going to need some more time, Matt. I'm like, okay, I'm going to just use my excess script. Did that. Are we ready? A bit more. Okay. I got nothing. I'm going to sit down and give you guys a bit of a Q&A for the next couple of minutes. So let's have a bit of a chat. So we did for 4 minutes. I literally sat on a stool having a conversation, which was funny and great. People were enjoying it.
Good filler.
And I'm like, okay, we are now ready. Let's play the video. And then the actual venue manager came in and said, Matt, I'm sorry, the projector's not working. That's it, mate.
So you just had to end the show without the finale.
So I was like, guys, I know this sounds very much like what a magician would say if it wasn't the end of their show and there was something more to come. But this is the end. This is the end of the show. There's nothing more. It's gone wrong. I'm sorry. If you want a refund, you can have it.
Oh my God.
This is the end. And I could see everyone's faces was like, oh, he's building this up pretty well to something. Guys, I'm not. That's the end of the show. Goodbye. And
shit.
Mate, I was heartbroken and it was so funny because I was working with this young magician who was my stagehand.
Mm-hmm.
And I went off stage and he went, that's a pretty good show. And I looked at him and I just could have smashed his skull into the ground.
I had someone do that to me the other night. We had a shit show on Monday night and someone was like, that was really good. And I was like,
don't you dare.
I was like, just take a step back.
If you think that's me at my best, oh my Lord.
Yeah, right.
And yeah, if that's your standard for me being good, my Lord. So yeah, that was funny. That was probably the worst disaster I've had for a long time. But it happens all the time.
Yeah.
But as long as you don't panic on stage, you can generally get away with it.
Yes,
People are quite often forgiving.
If you keep it calm, cool, collected, it's all right.
Yeah.
How do you deal with doing a month worth of shows, dealing with just life, being tired, the stamina it takes to do a month of fringe shows, and you recently had to cancel a show because you were sick? Like, how do you manage that? Because I'm the same. I'm doing pretty much a month straight of performances and I am beyond exhausted, but I just get up and keep on going.
You just have to. I mean, I cancelled a show on Tuesday, so a couple of days ago now, and that was the very first time in my 15-year career that I've ever not done a show.
Wow.
And it broke me, the fact that I had to say no. And I was like literally with my producer from Perth, constantly on the phone all day saying, I don't know what, you need to tell me what to do. I need to hear this from someone else. I'm struggling to make this decision.
Yeah.
I'm feeling really sick. I'm not feeling great. I'm not in a good headspace. I know I'm going to perform tonight in a 43-something degree tent. That's not going to help.
No, the heat this week has been...
I'm performing for 250 people, shaking all their hands. I'm getting them sick, and I'm like, I don't know if I can. We cancelled, and boy, did it feel good knowing that I'd made that decision.
Okay.
And the day after, when I woke up and went, oh my God, I feel good. And I can now do these next 5 shows and then head to Adelaide and do a month, hoping that I'm going to be okay through it all.
Yeah.
But that's tough. And I think anyone that works a job, they can take, if they want sick leave, they can have annual leave.
That's the thing. There's no sick leave being
for this first
performer.
3 months of the year.
Yeah.
If I'm not on stage, there's no show. Yeah. So I need to be there.
And
so tough.
some of the artists who I'm friends with, they go out after the show every night to the artist bar, drinking till 2 a.m. I'm like, I do that maybe once a week after a show if I need to unwind, but there's people who do it every night. I'm like, how the fuck do you do that?
I've done it once this fringe, and I think, and when I say that, I had 4 beers and I was home by 2.
Yeah.
So for me, that's a wow, man, you party animal. Because most nights I go home, I get a cup of tea or a bubble tea on the way home. I might, if I feel like I'm in for a bit of a treat, I'll order some nice little Uber Eats, and I will sit there in my trackies doing work. And that's my life for the 3 months.
Where do you stay when you're in Perth? Do you hotel or Airbnb?
Airbnb, hotel, whatever it's sort of cheapest. And usually I'll get like a nice relaxing place that I can kind of get a bit of freedom, got a bit of space.
Close to the venue?
This year, I'm literally a 1-minute walk from the venue,
perfect.
which is amazing.
Yeah.
So that's just kind of what I do. And I like my own space. And that probably doesn't help maybe with the mental health, because I go all day by myself most of the time, then to do a show in front of all these people, getting all this love, getting all this applause, shaking everyone's hand, having a chat after the show, and then 20 minutes later, I'm an anonymous person in a hotel room on Facebook, constantly searching for reviews.
Yeah. I spoke about this on last week's episode with Cam from Finance, that people who aren't performers have no idea what it's like to experience that extreme high on stage, walk off stage, and then all of a sudden it's like, zoom.
Yeah.
It's gone.
And that's like, it sounds such a petty thing to complain about, but like for me, like
It's a very real reality.
It's a totally real thing, and I am far from. I'm happy to be anonymous. I'm happy to be a nobody. I love nothing more than my family and my friends and spending time with them at home.
Yep.
For me, magic is still a hobby.
Wow.
And that might sound really weird for someone that's doing this as a full-time job, and this is something like I don't get me wrong. I still want to be huge, and I would like that'd be great if I could be one of the biggest magicians in the world or Australia or whatever. But if I don't, I'm very happy just having my life as well.
I feel the same. I used to, especially as a teenager, all I wanted to be was a pop star. That's all I wanted. Put me in a pop band, be a solo artist. I didn't care. Now that, I've been doing drag for 13, 14 years, but I've been singing since I was a kid. And now that I'm at a point in my career where I do perform full time, I'm like, I'm good with that. I love what I do. So much joy. I make money and get to live my life the way I want to live it. No questions asked for the most part. So, and I can't think of adding celebrity on top of that, how it would make it any better without actually just adding more stress and...
I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm so fortunate that I think I'm skilled and talented and hardworking enough to do really well at my job.
You forgot humble.
What like and humble, but and all these kind of things, and I know that is I'm really blessed to be able to have that experience, and I'm really lucky that I get to be able to support for people back home, and I can buy nice things for my loved ones, and I can look after them really nicely. But that's my goal.
Sure.
Like, my goal isn't to be the biggest and the best. If it happens, great, whatever. That's fantastic.
I think that's the perfect way to think
but
about it.
I will happily go work tomorrow in a coffee shop and live that life for the rest of my life if I need to. It's one of these things. For me, I've achieved my goals. There's plenty more I'm sure I can do. But if I don't, that's cool.
All right. We are almost at the end. I've got a couple of quick fire questions.
Go.
What the hell is a cat bus?
It's from My Neighbor Totoro, which is a Studio Ghibli Japanese anime film. Studio Ghibli is my favourite production company of all time. I love it very much, and Cat Bus is a character from that movie. You should watch it. It's amazing.
Matt uses Cat Bus in his show as a prop for those listening, and I'd forgotten about it until I went to see the show again the other night, and I was like, this damn cat. I just laughed the whole time.
Yeah, all the films that are released on Netflix, just as a
there you go.
plug.
Look up
so
Cat Bus.
Watch them, really good.
Favourite thing about being a magician?
The joy and excitement it brings when you perform a show and someone loves it.
Least favourite thing about being a magician?
The feeling when someone doesn't like the show and you really want them to.
What's next for Matt as a magician? Where are you? Obviously, you're off to Adelaide Fringe straight after this, but things for the future? Anything big planned or big shows you want to plug? Or
a few years ago, I put together a plan for my next 5 years, lifetime, and these sorts of things, and I'm very lucky to be able to say that I've achieved all those things.
Wow.
So I haven't
You're good.
really sat down and worked out what that next thing is yet. I don't know. I'm very happy with how life is right now. What is next could be absolutely anything, and I'm cool with that. So we will see.
Well, I do have to say this too. The gays love you, FYI. Every time I mention your name, the gays are like, oh my God, he is so hot. So there you go. You are loved by the gays.
My poor wife. See, so back in the day, so funny. I don't know why, but when I was on stage for the first couple of years, my character wasn't a character, but it was very kind of eccentric a little bit. And I kind of wanted to be a little bit flirty on stage.
And it came
but then
across gay.
I felt I couldn't really be flirty with the girls because that's kind of creepy. So I'll just be flirty with the guys. The amount of guys that just assumed that I was gay, and actually the amount of messages I got about getting coffees and lunches, and I'm like, that sounds really sweet. Yeah, let's do it. Not realizing what that meant.
Date.
And I'm like, I mean, well, we can catch up, but
I'm flattered.
It's probably not going to happen. I mean, maybe, who knows? Yeah, so thank you. My wife always goes, there's probably going to be one day where Matt just comes out and goes, you know what, I was wrong the whole time.
Crazier things have happened.
But not just yet.
So I'll be there to support you the whole way. Thank you, Matt Tarrant, guest number 2, episode number 2. Thanks for being here. Where can people find you online?
Matt Tarrant on Twitter, Matt Tarrant AU on Instagram, Matt Tarrant on Facebook, and my website is all there as well. And yeah, feel free to connect. I always love helping and chatting to other artists. So if you're an artist that wants to sort of step up their game, take it to the next level, reach out. I'm more than happy to share the stuff that I've learned.
Like I said, humble to a T.
Yeah.
We love it. No, but he really is. And he is very sincere in saying that because that's how we met. So he is 100% genuine in that. Thanks for listening. This is Let's Conversate. You can look us up on Instagram and Facebook just by searching Let's Conversate Podcast, or you can find my personal account. Just search Dean Misdale. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you all next episode.